Good morning, Journey. You made it. Even with one less hour of sleep, we are so proud of you guys. Thank you for being here. We're excited to worship together and just lean in to the Spirit this morning. So why don't you guys go ahead and stand? We're going to dive right into worship. I feel it in my bones, you're about to move. I feel it in the wind, you're about to ride it. You said that you would pour your spirit out. You said that you would fall on sons and daughters. So come. Sing it again. I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones. You're about to move. I feel it in the wind. You're about to ride it. You said that you would pour your spirit out. You said that you would fall on sons and daughters. So like the rain, come drench us. Your glory rushing like a flood. 'Cause we are fixed on this one thing, to know your goodness and see your glory. Oh, we're transformed by this one thing, to know your presence and see your beauty. Now your kingdom come all around us. I can hear now the sounds of heaven. You said that if we ask, we'll receive. So we are asking for the great and pleasure. And like the rain come to drench us in love. Let your Oh, we're of this wild song, till the barren is beautiful. And I know, though the winter is long, even richer the harvest it brings. Though my waiting prolongs, even greater your promise for me like a seed. And I believe that my season will come. God, you're enough. I can see the promise, I can see the future. You're the God of seasons, and I'm just in the winter. If all I know of harvest is that it's worth my patience, then if you're not done working, God, I'm not done waiting. 'Cause you can see the promise even in the winter, 'cause you're the God of greatness even in the manger. For all I know of seasons is that you take your time. You could have saved us in a second, instead you sent your child. Though the winter is long, even greater the harvest it brings. Though my waiting prolongs, even greater your promise for me like a seed. And I believe that my season will come. And when I finally see my dreams, I believe there's a season to come. Like the seed you were sown for the sake of us all. From Bethlehem soil grew Calvary sequoia. Whoa.
Good morning. Before you take a seat, turn and greet someone you don't know. Well, good morning. Welcome to Journey. I'm Nolan. I'm one of the pastors here. And if you are new, this is probably more fitting than ever. We would love to give you a free drink coupon to our Plaza Cafe to get some caffeine this morning. We are so glad that you're here and you're joining us. And our baristas, they can make all the crazy drinks, which nowadays it feels like all the drinks are crazy drinks. In fact, raise your hand if you have like a long order. We have a bunch of liars in here. If you sit in like a Starbucks, you're waiting for your drink, it's like 6 different items. Before they even get to the coffee part, they're like, I'll take half whip, half whatever. So they can make all of that. We would love to give you one of those and also meet you. And so after service, you can just walk outside, go over to our welcome table, and we would love to give you one of those. Well, this morning I have a few announcements. And the first one is coming up on Sunday, March 26th at 7 p.m. And it is a fundraiser to send our students to camp. It's called the Student Variety Show. And so this is so key and critical for our youth, sending them to summer camp. And I know it might not seem like that, but I can tell you, I don't have to look very far to see this. My wife is the product of being scholarshiped and also finding Christ at summer camp. When she was in middle school, she grew up in a family that didn't go to church and didn't know Christ, and a friend invited her, and then someone scholarshiped her, and all these years later, I just look at the fruit of that. So Let's show up big for our students. You can scan this QR code and you can donate to that. You can also, too, they're going to do some bake sale items. And our students are also performing like talent acts. So let's show up in a big way coming up on March 26th. For this next one, can we do a drum roll? Yeah, I want to go old school. Yes, I'm so excited for this next one. So we are bringing back our bunny hop trail this year. Yes. This thing, it is so awesome. I think we have pictures of this coming up. Maybe not. Yes, so our bunny hop trail is gonna be on Saturday, April 9th from 3 to 6 p.m. And it is amazing if you haven't been to this. So let's start with this. If you have friends or you yourself have young kids, if you have neighbors, just sign up and come on through the bunny hop trail. It is such an awesome event for our kids. You can see all the different, it works a little bit like a trunk or treat, and all these different stations are set up, and you get to go through as a kid, get candy, get a picture with the Easter bunny. It's awesome. So let's get our invite on. Let's start inviting our neighbors and our friends. And then the second piece, if you don't fall into that category, but you would love to serve, this is a huge opportunity to serve our community. And so you can also do that by scanning the QR code. You can sign up and you can host one of those stations. And even if you're not like, I'm not gonna decorate some kind of thing, you can go big with the candy because we all know that that's what they love. So we are excited, and make sure you mark that on your calendar, Saturday, April 9th from 3 to 6 p.m. Well, this is a little bonus announcement. If you're an artist, we are calling artists for Stations of the Cross. And so if you fall into that category and you love to donate your time and create maybe a piece, come and talk to me after service. I'm gonna actually be out front, and we would love to do that, but we're gonna be doing that this year, so we're really excited about that. Well, now let's pull out our outline, and then also too, we're gonna transition to a time of offering. So I'm gonna invite the ushers to come down. This is a time where we worship God with our finances, and we worship Him through the offering and also through our tithes. And we're smack dab in the middle of the 90-day challenge, which if you've never tithed, the idea is this: step out in faith and watch God provide for you. Because I know it can be terrifying, right? At first, I remember my wife and I going through Financial Peace University, and we're like, 10%? 10%, there's no way we can do 10%. But what we found out is that God really does show up. He shows, as every single time we take a step in faith, He shows up and meets us there. And I think of all these years later now of how God's grown our faith through tithing, and then two, getting to hear all those stories in this church of God's faithfulness. In fact, we shared last week, but I talked to another person this week too who did the 90-day challenge, felt stretched, but in that, felt that their faith grew even deeper. And so if you're a guest, don't feel any obligation with this. You can let the buckets or the bags pass, but there's a few different ways to give. You can scan the QR code I'm kind of over those, but you can do that if you like. You can grab the bag as it comes through, and you can also give through our app. And now you can pull out your outline and get ready for our brand new series.
How are you? Everybody good? Yeah. This weekend is often in religious circles referred to as pastor's worst nightmare weekend. You just fear being here by yourself. So at the 11 o'clock's going to be packed. I think all those lazy people right over there, the few at home, you can't see this, but right over there is usually just a truckload of our young adults, the young parents and stuff. Look over there. They're not there. There's just a couple of them there. So, it's okay. We're just glad you're here. Probably more of you are online. We're stoked that you're here as well. And hey, before we get started, I have this story I've been sitting on that's really a fun story. Nolan talked a little bit about the tithing thing, and a few weeks ago, like we often do, we did a message about God being first in our finance, and we had first in our heart. It was like it was a series within a series. Anyways, we issue this thing we do every year at the beginning, somewhere toward the beginning of the year. We call it the 90-day challenge because it's this unique thing in our life. The only place that God says, test the Lord. Like, generally, there's a commandment, don't test the Lord. We're going to see one today, right? But the only place God says, go ahead, see, just see, just test me, is in this area of tithing. And so there's a younger guy in our group, or in our church, and he was struggling with this. And so what we do, oh, by the way, I've finished the idea. So we say, try it for 90 days and see if you make it, and see if you still get to eat and pay your bills and stuff, and just see if that works, So this guy was literally sitting in his car before he went into work. And he's, a young person, so everything's on the phone. And so he's like, and then he just, boom, he said, all right, I'm doing it. And so he started the 90-day challenge right that day, right? He walks into work, gets called into a supervisor's office, and gets a raise for exactly the amount that he just tithed. I just think stuff like that is so fun and so encouraging. Yeah, clap it up for that. That's cool. So, yeah. Hey, I just feel like we need a rousing applause for no good reason. Just because that was kind of a half rear-ended applause. I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's just rouse for no good reason. Let's clap for nothing. Yeah, for nothing. Just because we're here. You're breathing. We're breathing. Yes, we're breathing. So, anyways, that outline you got, take that out. Also, you might want to, on the Journey app, the same information is there with more Bible verses and stuff. So here it goes on the message. I was thinking about, you saw our little statue with Corcovado on there and stuff, the big statue of Jesus in Brazil. And the deal is, I was thinking this, we're in a season that traditional churches called Lent. And in other languages, Lent, the word comes from in English about the lengthening of days. That's kind of where Lent comes from, because it's in that time of year. In most other languages, the word for Lent refers to the 40-ness of it. You know what I mean? The 40 and stuff like that. So anyways, and I was thinking about that and other things about this series and this message. And a thought came to me that it's about churches and what you're doing here. Like, why would you do this? Why would you, other than those of you that are here for court-ordered reasons, why would you do this? And there's a fact about not just this church, but all churches, and all people that are into this, and people that whatever terminology you like to use. Around here we refer frequently to Christ followers, or you might like the word Christian or whatever, or a real Christian or whatever, but we're all of us, all people that are into this, and all churches, and this is a word I'm making up, are Easter-centric. We're about Easter. The whole thing, not just on Easter, but the whole year we're about Easter. We're all about the weekend. In fact, we should rename our worship band The Weekend, except that's already taken, so we can't do that, right? But, everyone who's into this, part of what makes you one of these people, one of these, if you ask yourself, well, am I a Christian? Am I a Christ follower? Well, one of the things is that you're that you believe something that, if it's not true, is really kooky and crazy. And I can't speak for everyone in here, who knows what somebody out in the third row thinks about that. But, everyone in here believes that if you remotely know what you're talking about and even know where you are and why you're here, we all believe something that, again, if it's not true, is crazy, that on a weekend in the exact year is debated, whether it's 29 or 30, or some people say as late as 33. But on a weekend in that era, that there was a peasant who was killed, but thousands of others had been killed by the Romans on a cross, and that a couple days later, he didn't stay dead, and that is the biggest thing that's ever happened in the world. That's the most history-changing thing that's ever happened. We believe that. And not only that, is those of us in this room who are, like I said, who are clued in it all, we also believe that that doesn't just change history, which it does totally, completely, indisputably, but it also changes my story as well. Like that's what people who are sitting here, that's what they think. They think that, right? And they also, and I'll take it one step further, we also believe that everybody we meet needs this and needs him more than they could possibly imagine. Like you might think you sort of kind of need God and you might sort of kind of need Jesus. And what we think is this, or you might not think you don't need him at all. What we think is you might not know this, you need him more than you think. If you think you need him this much, you need him this much. And really, you need him this much, right? So the deal is, because it's such a big deal, we kind of think like this, and those of us that like kind of lead these gatherings called churches, kind of think this is a big deal, and it takes a long time. It takes a lifetime, maybe many lifetimes, to really fully get your head and your heart and your life around this, right? To really like kind of go, whoa. In fact, every now and then somebody will say, I've actually had people say this exact thing. It's like, and it always happens on Christmas and Easter, they always go, man, it's the same thing every year. Like, you've been doing this a long time. That's a little insulting. But clearly you've been doing this a long time. Do you ever think you're going to run out of stuff to say? Like, because it's like Christmas. I mean, how much Easter? How much? And I'm like, bro, one of my biggest fears is I'm going to die before I get all this out of me, right? It would take 1,000 Easters. We've had a couple thousand to even begin to like really get. I think that we'll be dead, and as you're standing before God, I think like 4 centuries in, you're going to be going, oh, really? Whoa, yes. All right, I have another question. I think it's going to go like that, right? So with that in mind, what we've done, like we being like for the last 2,000 years, what we've done is like said to ourselves, man, we need a few days to kind of get ready for this thing. So there's this 40-day period called Lent that we started about a week ago Wednesday, called on Ash Wednesday. Here's the deal. Usually it involves some kind of subtraction and some kind of addition. Like usually you fast from something, and then usually you give up something. You've heard of that, right? Giving up something for Lent. And usually you add something. And it's like, and like, you know, a lot of people might take one meal a week that they usually eat and go, okay, I'm going to fast from food. Or some people do some kind of social media fast. That's a really good idea. Or like a media fast, or a TV, or whatever. It could be a gajillion things that would help you dial in and then usually they add something, like maybe a Bible reading as a daily practice, or some 5-minute prayer thing, or 10-minute, or an hour, or all different things. Does that make sense? Nod your heads. Yes, that makes sense. You guys at home, nod your heads. Come on. All right, thanks. And so, you know, and so here's what I want to say. It's already started, but it's not too late. Like, so all of us, we're inviting you in, like to start today and go, I want to do this. I want to, maybe while I'm sitting here during this talk, you know, I'll come up with something that I go, yeah, I could do that for between now and Easter, and I can, okay, and just whatever it is. Trust me, if you do it on purpose and do it, you'll see a result in your life. And so what we do, like we as a church, is usually we have like a series of messages that kind of bring us back to the person of Jesus himself. And so we are almost always during this season are doing messages that come out of one of the gospel stories of Jesus, or like something that keeps us looking at Jesus. And so there's this idea that is in Romans 5:10. It says this: if while we were enemies of God, we were reconciled to God. Now, hear me here. We were reconciled to God through the death of his son. So when Jesus died on the cross, one of the things that did is that made it possible for you and God to get back together. Because some of the junk in our lives keeps us feeling and actually kind of distanced from God. And Jesus' death, so while we were still kind of like giving God the bird, as it were, and it's like God says, you were reconciled through the death of his son. Much more, now I'm back to quoting in Romans 5:10, much more then, since we've been reconciled, we shall be, ready? Here's the phrase I'm going for. We shall be saved by his life. Like the life of Jesus saves us. Now, if that's not something most of us, we know that the death of Jesus on the cross saves us, right? Yes. But did you hear what Paul says? We are saved by his life. His life saves us. It enables us to experience victory in our life. His life can become our life in a weird sense. Listen, when you are in Christ, when you connect with Christ, his victories become your victories. So for the next few weeks, we're going to look at, as we kind of move through the life of Jesus toward the cross, we're going to look at 5 of his victories in his life and kind of like how they can become our victories. Now, here's the deal. At Journey, what we try to do is do church in a way that if you're new to church, you can still access it. So it's not like, it's not like insider only language and just all these references. And when I first started going to church, I remember that church, all the sermons would start like this. Do you have your Bibles? And I'm like, no, I don't have one. But there was one in the seat in front of me. So I grabbed that. It says, all right, turn to 1 Kings chapter 7. And I was like this. I was like, I don't know what that means, right? And so I went to the table of contents. First of all, I thought it would be in alphabetical order. Like, okay, H-I-J-K, King. It didn't work, right? And then I went to the table of context. Page 873, all right, there. And just as I was there, everybody else was already like rocking, and I'm like, okay, there. And then the guy goes, and now turn to Hezekiah 6. And I'm like, oh, come on. And the joke was on me, there is no Hezekiah. So anyways, we don't do that, right? We're like, for those of us that are maybe new to this, we try to make sure we just use common language and stuff. Here's the deal, though. Sometimes there's some things that we're going to talk about where the story itself in the Bible assumes other stuff about the Bible that you already know. So here's what I'm going to tell you about. So I'll do my best to keep everybody together, but just you need to bear down and focus, because this story, it's assuming you're going to make some connections. I'll help you make them, I promise. But I'm just kind of giving you a little warning that it's kind of grabbing stuff from all the story itself is alluding to all kinds of other stuff within the rest of the Bible. A couple of big things, all right? Are we cool like that? Just a fair warning? All right, so here's what I mean by that. When you look at the life of Jesus, and like we're going to do, and look at stories of the life of Jesus, you can think of it as 4 levels that you can look at a story of Jesus. And they're all legit and they're all good, right? But they're different levels. And level 1 might be this. I think we have a slide that's going to put all these up there. The inspiration of Jesus. Like, you look at a story, you see Jesus, and you're inspired by maybe his compassion or his love or his fierce loyalty to justice or whatever. And you think, your response is, man, I'm really motivated. That's legit. That happens all the time when you read the Bible, right? You've experienced that. Read it, get motivated. That's good. That's a level. Here's another level, right? The teaching of Jesus, where he explains something to you, like the Sermon on the Mount, and you go, oh, yeah, now I get that. I understand the universe a little better. I understand God better. I understand myself better. Okay. And this is like Then there's the example of Jesus, where you go, okay, that's look at here, and this is often like a lot of sermons on stories from Jesus are that. Okay, look at how Jesus, and like this story we're going to look at today, it could be like that. See, Jesus did this, you should do this. See, Jesus did that, you should do that, right? Right? There's these bracelets people were wearing for a while that said, "What would Jesus do?" on there, you know? That's fine. We'll just keep going. Yeah, okay, never mind. There's more that could be said. Then here's the level that we're going to look at today. This is harder. This is hard because you gotta like when these guys were writing these stories, there was something they were trying to. They wanted you to stay with them on stuff, and there's this overall thing about Jesus. Remember that thing in Romans. We've been reconciled by his death, and we will be saved by his life. And this is where you look at the life of Jesus, and ready? You receive it. You go, he did that. I'm saved by his life. I receive that as mine. His victories become my victories, not necessarily by being inspired, although that's fine, or being understanding, or even trying to do it. It's by like receiving it. So let's see if we can make some sense of that. Here's the first victory story. It's Jesus' victory over chaos. You know, the kind of craziness, the chaos, the nuttiness, the hostility, the stuff that can come into your life where all of a sudden you're like, how did this get so weird? I'm guessing a lot of us right here in this room have like at least one relationship that we can think of, like we're thinking, man, how did this get so sideways? How did we get to where we don't speak to each other anymore? How did it get to where this person I used to love and really like, that when I think of them now, my first feeling is like this in my stomach, right? How did that happen? And that's chaos. And so when we get to this story in Matthew 4 on Jesus' temptation, let me just bring you up to speed as best I can. So as you can tell, you might not know this, we divide up the book of Matthew into 28 chapters. This is in chapter 4, and the first chapter is a genealogy. So first clue, we're early in the story, right? Here's what's happened so far. And Matthew talked about the birth of Jesus. He's the one that tells us about the wise men and all that stuff, the magi that came to see Jesus. And then he tells us about Jesus' relative, a dude named John, who they later called John the Baptist, it was just a crazy, inexplicable, apart from God thing. The kid was special from the day, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He wasn't special. He was special, right? And so he like had this calling on his life from God. He looked and acted like this ancient prophet Elijah, right? Have anybody heard of Elijah? And Elijah, it said, he dressed like kind of a Fred Flintstone kind of outfit, right? Big leather belt, and lived in the Arema, it's called, in the wilderness, out in the desert. And he was out there, listen, this is the crazy part. He's out there by himself, just calling people to repent, preaching sermons to call people to turn their lives around and get ready for the Messiah out in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of like a dude that just drives out and posts up somewhere past Ocotillo and just pulls off the side of the 8, walks out like 5 or 6 miles into nowhere and starts preaching. And here's the crazy part. People by the thousands came to hear this guy speak. Now keep in mind, this was before they had invented cable TV or Netflix or anything, so people had nothing to do, right? So that was really funny, and you didn't say anything, so it's like, is this on? Hello, so, but he became like super famous, like worldwide. The Jewish community, which was scattered all over the world, just like it is today, they knew about him in Rome. This guy became famous. He was the dude, and see, there was 2 things that everybody was kind of on edge about. One is the promise of the Messiah that was coming, and the other was there's this verse in the very last book of the Old Testament, as we have it. It wasn't as they had it. But it's chronologically, it's the last book called Malachi. The last book, the last chapter, it says that God is going to send Elijah back before the Messiah comes. And so John is out there looking and talking like Elijah out in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden, people are going, this is it. I think this is it. And there's like people everywhere. And John has become famous. And what he did is he was dunking Jews in the Jordan River as like a sign of repentance. Usually, you only did that to non-Jewish people who wanted to become Jewish, like converts. And he was like, dude, I don't care where you're born. I don't care how circumcised you are. You need to get dunked. And so it was happening. John was told by God that you will know when you see the Messiah. And here comes his relative, Jesus, and John all of a sudden goes, how did I miss this? That's him. That's the guy. Jesus comes in to get baptized, and John's going, bro, you should be baptizing me. And, and Jesus goes, no, this is supposed to go down like this. So John baptizes him. There's this crazy event. And there's a voice out of the sky. Now, we're not sure, like, who saw what. Like, if the whole crowd heard the voice or if they just saw the stuff. So Jesus gets baptized. A voice out of the sky says this is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased. So, I don't know, did everybody hear that? But then this thing happened where the Holy Spirit came on Jesus and says it was like a dove, like a bird landing on him and just staying there, just hanging out with him. And so John's like, hey, everyone, it's been great. There's your guy. So yeah, I'm about to go get my head chopped off by Herod the king. So, catch you later. That's it. And so like all of a sudden, this massive crowd is like, whoa, there's the guy. And in a typical gospel ironic move, the first step in this new publicity campaign is to go away from the public. I mean, right? Instead of capturing the momentum, Jesus is sent into the wilderness, and so this is right at the very front end of Jesus, the public person, right? Jesus is about 33 years of age at this time, and here we go. So now we'll read the story. Or parts of it, and then we'll break it down for you. Now, Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And then the next verse says, and after he had fasted 40 days, that's where we get the 40 for Lent, by the way, 40 days and 40 nights, he then became hungry. And all God's people said, duh, like, yeah, 40 days? I would think you might get a little peckish after, wouldn't you, of 40 days and 40 nights of not eating. So here's the deal. Jesus didn't happen to be in the wilderness and the devil came to him. It's not like Jesus is minding his own business. It's like it says this. Notice if you can look at verse 1 again. He says, then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. In the Gospel of Mark, all four of the Gospels talk about this. In Mark, it says Jesus, the Greek word is ekbalo. Jesus, we get ballistic missiles from that. Jesus was chucked into the wilderness. The Spirit of God grabbed Jesus and whoosh, there you go. He threw him into the wilderness. Jesus, listen, the point of this was Jesus was being sent to go fight with the devil. Like that was the point. It was like, it was scheduled. It was supposed to go 12 rounds. I mean, it was like that. This was a scheduled deal where God says, all right, step one, go beat him up, right? So that's what's going on. Jesus is coming to confront the chaos that has seeped into the world everywhere. That's everywhere, all over the place. Anybody, this is for you guys who are like more, have been around a while, and gone to church and Bible people. That number 40, does that ring a bell for anybody? Anybody? You want to, let's try this. Since we tried this Friday and it didn't work, so let's try it again. But just shout out some Bible 40s. 40 years in the desert, all right, yeah, Israel. The flood, 40 days of rain, yeah, okay. I'm hearing something over here. Say what? Oh, Jonah. Wow, yeah, there, that's good, Jonah. Nobody got that Friday, yep. Anybody else? Yeah, this isn't working very good. Yeah, but there's a lot of 40s, right? There's, and by the way, on Friday, when Nolan asked about hey, he goes, hey, somebody shout out your drink, like about the cafe thing, and somebody shouted out, Jack and Coke, and I'm like, see, at Journey we have a mixed multitude of people. See, eventually you'll learn at church, even if that's true, you don't say that at church, right? You don't say that, and these people said that. So we should learn our lesson about having you. And so when we talk about 40s, I know some of your brains are not going to the right place here. But thanks for not saying it at least. But here's a few of the famous 40. There's a bunch of them, but 40 is a big number. It's a very symbolic and significant number. There's the flood. Some of you said that. Moses on Mount Sinai receiving the law was fasting for 40 days on the deal. Then there's the 40 days of the guys sent out to spy out the promised land. And because they screwed that up, there's 40 years of them wandering in the wilderness. They really weren't lost, by the way. They didn't want to go into the land, and God said, all right, you're not. It's like sometimes that's what judgment looks like. God going, okay, you asked for it, you're getting it. And there's a great U2 song, 40, that I just thought I'd throw up there. And then of course, there's other ones. Elijah had a 40 days of fasting. Ezekiel was lying on his side for 40 days, symbolically, laying siege to Jerusalem. But the one that we're looking at is Jesus in the wilderness. And so here's the thing. When you read this, all right, here's what Matthew is expecting you to do. There's two Bible dudes that he's thinking when you read this, you're going to go ding, 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 and you're going to connect these two people. And the first one is Moses. Jesus is out away from people in the Judean wilderness, and their wilderness is gnarly wilderness. Their desert is our desert right out there makes compared to theirs, ours looks like a verdant, plush wilderness. Those of you guys who have been to Israel, when you're down by the Dead Sea region, you're up in Masada, say, and you're looking down, there's nothing. We have little scrub bushes and occasional juniper tree. There's nothing there. It's dirt and rocks and dirt, right? That's kind of what's there. So Jesus is like Moses and Jesus both out. So Moses is going to bring down in Hebrew it's the Davar Esharet, Davarim, right? It's the 10 words of their covenant with God. Jesus is going to end up bringing down the new covenant, which we celebrate every time we take communion. So Matthew wants you to go, oh, okay, Moses, right? So let's look at this confrontation. There's 3 temptations. And many of you have heard of these before. And here it is. The first one, temptation number 1, is the stones to bread temptation. So Jesus is in the wilderness, 40 days, 40 nights. He becomes hungry, of course. And the tempter came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, then command these stones to become bread. But Jesus answered and said, it is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So the chaos that's being confronted here that we experience all the time is, we're going to call it disordered desire. All right? Disordered desire. I got this phrase from 2 places. Augustine talks about this, and there's a a guy named Thomas Aquinas in the Middle Ages who did some wax. Here's what we're looking at. So let me ask you a question here. Is it a sin to eat bread? Duh, right? That's an easy question. And would it have been a sin for Jesus to in some weird way create bread? You're thinking, I don't like answering these because he's usually trying to trick me. No, like, can you think of another time, and again, if you're new to the Bible, here's some facts. Can you think of another time when Jesus seemed to create food, create bread specifically? Yeah, he fed 5,000 people with so there was some kind of a bread making operation going on there, right? And a fish creating, ichthyological thing going on in this thing. So clearly, it's not like a sin to create bread. It's not like the devil was saying, Jesus, here's your temptation. That guy has bread. Beat him up and take his bread. It's like, no, he's just saying, why don't you do this? Why you can do this. Just do this. So what's going on here? What's the chaos? So here's where disordered desire. See, bread is a legit need. Yes? Food is a legit need. You got to have food. If you don't eat for long enough, we call you dead. That's the way eventually, right? Sooner or later, you got to eat or you die. 40 days, it can be done. I have friends that have fasted for 40 days. Usually they, like ours, we have broth and, smoothies and all this stuff. But, Jesus, this was just water. And it's possible to do this. Many people have done it, okay? Now, here's the thing. But if you go a whole lot longer than 40 days, it's not going to be good. So Jesus was getting to the time right about now when he needed to do something by way of eating, or we were going to have a problem, right? So this is a legit need at a legit time. Yes? All right. So, say this represents your board of needs in your life. So we got a pretty obvious one, food. You got to have food, right? Food, all right. Can somebody, this is called Audience Participation Day. What other legit needs? All right. Food, water, all right. All right, keep it going. Shelter, shelter, clothing, all that stuff. I'm going to put those on the same sticky down here. Clothing. Anybody else? How about air? All right. Well, we're going to put that with water. Air, sleep. All right. Now let's get our brains a little bit off the physical. Let's go up a level on Maslow's hierarchy here. And what else do humans legitimately need? Love. That's funny how you all said love. It's a bunch. Well, the Beatles said it. I believe it. That settles it. All right. And what else is out there? Purpose. Can I also call this significance on purpose? Who's going to stop me? Anyways, what else? Connection, like some kind of, relationship, connection. What else we got here? Don't be shy. It's got real quiet. You couldn't shut up for a few seconds ago, huh? Hope. Yeah. Hope's a legit need for sure, right? You can breathe without hope, but not indefinitely, Keep it going. What else do you need? What? Acceptance. All right. All right. Keep it going. Anything else? Here's some sanity. Did you say sanity? That's a good one. Peace. Yeah, absolutely. Here, huh? faith, yeah. Yeah, it's like faith isn't optional. They're like sometimes church-going people are called in the media people of faith. Everyone's a person of faith. We all have a story we believe, even if it's a story that there's no God and when I die, I just become dirt. That's a story. You don't know that. You're taking that by faith. So somebody said Friday, I'm surprised none of you have said, something that lives in this area of joy or happiness. Okay? Right? Somebody so here's what disordered desire looks like. Let's say, in Jesus' case, there's the need for food. Most of us, maybe we need less food. You know what I mean? But because I'm a little out of control in that area, right? And so food's a legit need, right? But here's what disordered desire does, and here's what the devil does. Here's what he does. He just takes this legit need, because if he said to Jesus, I'm tempting you to go kill somebody. I'm tempting you to, that's easy. But what's hard is when there's a legit need that he does this with. See, you need food, don't you? Aren't you hungry? It's been 40 days after all. You better get some food. I don't know, you got to do whatever you got to do. At some point, you just got to eat. And he does that with our need for, say, relationships. Man, I'm so lonely, so connected. I feel so disconnected. I don't have anyone to share my life with. Yeah, well, then it's like this. Yeah, well, you better marry that person because you know what? That's the last chance you're ever going to get at your point in your life, and you better just do this. And you know what? That'll fix all your problems, and you'll never feel lonely again if you just get married. It's like, oh, wait. Then hopefully you have some friends that maybe have been married that go like this. Let me tell you what it's really like, all right? So, right? Here's a huge one that the devil does. It's like purpose, significance. In your right mind, when chaos isn't dominating, you go, I know that, boy, that's obvious. That's got to come from God, right? That's got to come from God. And then he just goes, well, aren't you tired of nobody seeing what you do? Aren't you tired of just being in obscurity? And man, listen, the squeaky wheel gets greased. You better let people know. You guys have experienced this, I assume, right? Me and Jesus aren't the only ones. It's like hope. Man, it's, like, all right, good. Wow, things are never, I prayed about this for a year. Nothing's happening. I don't think they're ever going to come around. Things are never going to get any better. I got to do something about this. That's called, these are all legit desires, right? Every one and more. This board could be a lot much bigger, right? And if they're here, and I'm here, and God's here, then we're all good, right? Things are good. But what chaos does is it does this, and then you can't see anything else. And here's the funny thing is, when you see other people doing this, it's really obvious. You're like, dude, you're insane. Just stop doing this. It's funny how when you're doing it, you feel like everybody else is insane. So what happens? How do we fix that? We don't fix it. What we need is there's chaos and then there's a word from God. And the word in this case is a word. Words from God bring order. It's the only thing that brings order. It's not just your willpower. By the way, when you're in one of these moments where it feels like this need is like this, it feels like willpower is so weak to get you sane again, to bring this back where it should be. It's like your willpower is nothing. What you need is a word from God. You need a word from God that reminds you of reality, that takes that legit need and moves it out. And you need to hear God say to you, I've got this. I've got this. Just be patient. Just relax. Stop being crazy. Here we go. Sanity, the overarching need for all of us, right? Words from God. By the way, this sounds self-serving and stuff. This is one good reason not to go a long time without showing up at church where you can hear words from God. It's some church, this church, some church. It's another good reason to, I don't want to get kooky here, but maybe read the Bible on a regular basis, right? Just so you can get words to restore your sanity. Notice that the Bible starts off, when I say starts off, it starts off. The second line of the Bible. Bereshith bara Elohim et hashamayim vayet haaretz. That's the first line. And then he said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Then the second line is God coming against the chaos. And what does he do? He speaks to the water and says, shh. And the water, the deep, becomes the sea. Temptation number 2, the flying leap. Then the devil took him to the holy city, to Jerusalem, and had him stand on the pinnacle of the temple. That's the southeast corner of the temple. The temple had, there was the temple complex, and then there were the walls around the temple, and then there were the walls around Jerusalem. The thing is, this wall is still there, and it's like in the corner. It's like actually one of the coolest places to go. It's the steps into the temple are there, and then down to the right as you're walking up this ancient steps, they're literally the steps from the days of Jesus. So you know you're walking where Jesus walked. And it's funny, when people are there, they often take their shoes off because they want their feet to feel those stones on which Jesus stepped. And it's really a cool moment. But anyways, on the southeast corner, there's on the east side of Jerusalem, there's the Mount of Olives over there. And in between, there's this deep valley called the Kidron Valley, right? And you stand on the corner, like that, from the top of the wall where the temple was to the bottom, it's still there today, is 450 feet, all right? It's pretty tall. And then it was probably more than that. Because, over 2,000 years, there's lots of, the ground valleys tend to fill up. So the devil has him on the corner, and there's people there. It's one of the busiest spots in Israel at the time. And the devil said to him, if you're the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you. And this is from Psalm 91 he's quoting. And on their hands, the angels' hands, they're going to hold you up so that you won't even stub your little toe. Jesus, you should do this. Aren't you tired of just being a nobody? Eventually everyone's going to know who you are anyways. Why don't you just show them right now? Just show them. Look, that psalm is about the Messiah. You're the Messiah, right? Right? Really? You are? Okay, well, let's see if you really are. Weird temptation. Jesus said to him, on the other hand, it is written, you shall not, remember we just talked about this with the tithing thing? You shall not put the Lord your God to the test. That's the general rule. You're not supposed to test the Lord your God. So what's going on here, right? And here's what it is. Here the chaos in this case looks like jacked up purpose and timing. That's what chaos does sometimes, is it causes you to get out of sorts with the timing of things and the purpose of things. And almost always, the direction this goes is rushed. A lot of the ways that we allow chaos into our life comes from us being in a hurry. Us going, all right, that's it. If you want to look at it in the Middle East, all the tension and stuff that they're experiencing, it comes from Abraham all the way back to everybody's forefather going, all right, I'm tired of waiting for God to get something going with my 90-year-old wife. You can read it for yourself. Bad things happen when things are rushed. It's kind of like one of these, we have these at Christmas, like one of these deals where like you're looking and you're going, okay, I can see that. I see what's going on. And then here's what the devil's trying to do to Jesus right now is just kind of like going, all right. And then all of a sudden you're like, now I can't see anything. My vision. See, a lot of temptation, like almost all temptation, almost all chaos is an assault on your vision. It's an assault on like how you see life and how you see God. And are you seeing God at work in your life? How you see God's hand, whether you believe his hand is even there. And so here's what we do when things are like this, is we do what Jesus did, and we say, I'm not going to test the Lord, my God. See, how we test God is, and how we choose not to test God is this. We surrender our agenda. When I surrender my agenda and go, God, listen, I'm not going unless you're going. I'm not going to run ahead unless unless I'm still connected to you. And see, 90% of the time, see, if say your world right now is like this, and you're like, I can't see anything. I certainly can't find God in this. So what's the solution with one of these? It's pretty obvious. What do? You just wait. All you got to do is wait it's already starting to clear up. A lot of times, it's funny how often the Bible tells us to wait for God. It's rarely does the Bible say, get off your you know what and hurry up. The Bible never says that. Hurry up. You're getting, there's never a thing in the Bible that says, like that. It's not in there, right? But a jillion times you're told, wait. Psalm 27:17, wait for the Lord. Now here's what happens when you wait for the Lord. Wait for the Lord, Psalm 27. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Yes, look at it now. Yes, wait for the Lord. When you wait, the courage and the strength, they come back to you. Here's the final one. This is the weirdest one and the most important one. It's the worship me because it's free. Free is me after all, right? Worship me because it's free temptation. So like in the last temptation, the devil's trying to trick Jesus, quoting a Bible verse to him. He knew Jesus liked the Bible, so he's like, oh yeah, you're a religious guy, let me quote the Bible. And so that didn't work, so now he's just gonna go straight at him. And the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. That would have been a cool special effect, wouldn't it? I just said, what did that look like? But he did that, and then the devil said to Jesus, all these things, all these kingdoms, all this stuff, I will give you. If you just fall down and just a little worship. Just a little kiss on my foot. That's all I'm asking. And then listen, boom. Because your cousin there is talking about the kingdom of God. That's what you're talking about. And like you're going to be the king, right? So let's do this. It's funny, 2 times Jesus is supposed to throw himself down. They're the same word, by the way. I'll give you the kingdom, man. The throne, you want the throne, right? I'll give it to you. No cross. That way we can skip all that unpleasantness and you can just be the king. You like free? Free's cool. It's like being at one big Costco. Everything's free sample. You just. Now, remember I told you there's 2 guys that Matthew wants you to go ding, ding, ding. There's 2. I gave you the first one, Abraham. There's another one. I would ask you to guess, but this isn't like, they say there's no wrong answers. Well, there are wrong answers. The other one is Adam, the first guy. Okay? Now, here's, you guys might want to hold off just a second, but the first temptation, when Jesus says, man shall not live by bread alone. Remember that one? Yes? 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 Okay, good. So here's a little factoid. Jesus quotes 3 Bible verses on every response to chaos. They are all from this one section of the Bible, Deuteronomy 6 through 8, where Moses is talking about God's provision for them in the wilderness. And when Jesus says, man shall not live by bread alone, Matthew doesn't write the word that's like man, like a male. It's the word anthropos, right? Which we anthropology from that. Anthropos, humans. Now, he's quoting Deuteronomy, and Deuteronomy, of course, is written in Hebrew, not Greek. And in Deuteronomy, it says, Adam shall not live by bread alone. Adam, which sounds like, in fact, it is the word Adam. Here's the deal, ready? The chaos here is the desire to dominate and control. And then, go ahead and put the next one up. And the word that Jesus comes back with is this word that says, I'm going to take God. I prefer him. Here's what you're supposed to be thinking right now. Man, this sounds a lot like another person's conversation with the devil. The one that happened at the very beginning of human history, where there's a conversation with the devil and it's like, look, here's something to eat. Don't you want to eat this? And by the way, don't you want to feel significance? Because maybe God's actually like holding out on you. And if you don't take action, then you're never going to get your needs met. And then it says, and they said, yeah, devil, you got a really good point here. And off we go. And now because of them, everything is like evil and chaos got introduced into the world, lest you think, oh man, that's not fair. We got screwed because of them. I didn't do anything. Yes, you have. Every single one of us has had our own Garden of Eden, and we have like signed our name on the contract that Adam and Eve signed as well. Everyone. And so I included our Latin words up there. See, we talk about the Imago Dei all the time, but here's what the other word is Psycho Deus, which means what the devil says, oh, you're going to be as gods. All you got to do is redirect your worship a little bit. Then Jesus said to him, here's the answer. Jesus said to him, go, Satan. By the way, you can say that. Go, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only. And then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and began to minister to him. Lest you think, yeah, well, Jesus, he wasn't tempted with what I'm tempted with. But in Luke's version, it says, and after the devil had finished every single temptation, then he left. So here's what you do, right? Here's how this victory can become your victory. What he's doing is saying this. If you're connected with God, if you've connected yourself with Jesus, if you've put your trust in him, if you've welcomed him into your life and decided that you're going to live your life for him and you're in him and he's in you, then you're invited to just say, all right, this victory is my victory. I don't have to get worked. Chaos does not have to have the last word in my family, in my life, in my brain, in my relationships. So here's how you do this. You proclaim, this is the most important part. This is the message right here. You proclaim the victory of Jesus over the chaos that is threatening to envelop you. You proclaim the victory. You refer to Jesus' victory and you go, wait a minute. Wait. I don't have to freak out. He's already won. Because he reconciled me to God on the cross, I am saved by his life. His life can become my life. So let's do this right now. Why don't you stand up as we're going to get ready to worship? And why don't you close your eyes for a second? And think about those areas or those things that the chaos that seems to be intruding on you, on your life, on the people around you. The addiction that seems to be your story. And you thought, oh man, I'm doing so good. And then you just relapsed this week. And you're like, ah, crap. You almost didn't even come to church today because of that. Or that person that you're at odds with, that you just can't seem to bring yourself to make peace or to fix this. You don't even know how to fix it. The anxiety that feels like it's going to just choke you, or sometimes you feel like some of you have experienced that, right? You're so anxious and fearful, it feels like something is choking you. Okay, ready? Here's what you do. It's kind of 2 steps. Step 1 is just either right now ask Jesus into your life and put your trust in him and say to him, I believe that you died on the cross for me. I trust you to forgive my sins and save me. Here, as best I know how, I give you my life. That's step 1. If you've already done that step, remind yourself, remind yourself that you've taken that step. Remind yourself that God has reconciled you to himself. That nothing can separate you from God. That nothing can separate you from the love of Jesus. And then step 2 is you say, okay, in Jesus' name, through the victory of Jesus, chaos, be gone from this. Anxiety, you're done. You're not my master anymore. Reconciliation, you're on your way. Hope, come back. Just right now, even as we worship, proclaim the victory of Jesus over the chaos that is encroaching in your life, in your family, and do just what Jesus did. Be gone, because I'm going to worship the Lord and him only. So let's actually do that right now.
By your stripes I am healed. By your stripes I am healed. With one touch I am made whole. You have spoken, and I know that it is so. In the storm, you are peace, and your love won't let me go. You have spoken, and I know that it is so. You have spoken, and I know that it is so. When it doesn't go my way, I know that it is not the end. I'm trusting you have better plans I haven't even dreamt of yet. I know that you are for me when everything's against me. I put all my hope in you. Jesus, I will trust you. I will trust you. I know you never fail. I will trust you. Jesus, I will. Oh, God, I will. Sing, I don't know how the story ends. I don't know how the story ends, but I know that you finished it. I close my eyes and just let go and fall into my only hope. There's safety in the falling when I surrender fully. I put all my hope in you, Jesus. Jesus, I will trust you. I will trust you. I know you'll never fail. I will trust you. Jesus, I will. Jesus, I will. I will. The only thing I know is God, you're in control. In every little detail, you are close. I'll never be alone. Here in the unknown, the power of your presence fills my soul. And now everything I know is God, you're in control. In every little detail, you are close. I'll never be alone. Here in the unknown, the power of Jesus, I will. Jesus, I will.
Amen. Well, thank you guys again so much for joining us today and for worshiping with us. If you want to linger in this moment, or if you feel like you could use some prayer, our prayer team is going to be right over on this side of the room after service, and they would love to pray over you. Otherwise, go in peace. We love you guys. Have a great Sunday.